The city of Alameda's unfunded liability right now is roughly around $200 million. On the CalPERS retirement side, it's roughly $95 million. And on the post-employment health side, it's $100 million. So to combine, it's $200 million. Now, make sure that it's not like tomorrow or the next month or in coming years we're going to have to start cutting a check of $200 million. That's not the way it works. But what we have to do is we should not panic. Instead, we should plan our way through this. And the way that we begin to plan our way through this is recognizing several things. One, we have to change retirement formulas. The 3% at 50 that our public safety is getting us, while we'd love to continue with 3% at 50, the reality is that that's really driving the fiscal instability of cities across California, including Alameda. And so we need to change that retirement formula and peg it down to what other people are getting, roughly the 2% at 55. Now the other formula that we need to change is we need to have workers contribute more towards their own retirements. The Alameda Sun today has a great article that talks about the contributions and the possibilities of increasing their own contributions. So we need to not only change the retirement formula of 3% at 50 that says how much you're going to get, we need to change the formula that says, you know, how much people contribute to their own retirement. But the reality, though, is even as we change all these formulas, because so many of the workers are already retired, we still have to figure out another way to deal with the unfunded liability that's attributable to workers who are already retired. So my plan is severalfold. One, we need to take a look at furloughs on a 2-year basis to generate savings that we would then reprogram to buy down the unfunded liability over time. 2, we also need to take a look at consolidating positions so that after 2 years, after the furlough period, we can continue to generate savings. And 3, we need to set aside any new revenues, like revenues generated from the target project. Set aside a portion of new revenues towards buying down the unfunded liability of $200 million.
Unfunded liabilities. Yes, the numbers could be $80,000 to $100,000 on the pension side, and post-employment benefit could be another $85 to $100 million. But who created this unfunded liability? It did not happen overnight. The city is contributing every year to OPEB and pension contribution, millions of dollars. When times are good, we have asset managers, CalPERS. When times were good, they didn't want us to put money in because stock market, everybody, every grandmother in the United States were making millions. So they didn't want us to put money in. Now, because of the internet buzz, the banking industry, the real estate, stock market, sudden collapse. What happened? Now there's that unfunded liability. We didn't create it. It happened because of this huge recession. How do we address unfunded liabilities? State pension reform, Jerry Brown signed into law. Like some of my colleagues said, yes, it will be reformed. We're talking about two-tier system. We're talking about contribution up to 50%. We're talking about 2 at 57, 2 at 2.5 at 57. So we don't know how it's going to trickle down to the city level. Let the state level work it out. When it comes down to the city level, we'll work in earnest with our public safety, our police, our firefighters. It's an honor system. The contract doesn't expire until summer of next year. Let's wait for everything to settle down in Sacramento, and then we'll work with it. But I believe that we have an obligation to our public safety employee, and we have to be committed to honoring that commitment. Thank you.
Fortunately, I'm a better writer than I am a public speaker, but I've addressed this very thing in Sacramento just a few weeks ago. First thing we need to do is flip the panic switch to off. The fund managers at PERS are not investing for the short term. There's a lot of hyperbole on investment losses based on the recession. But if you look at PERS on a 20-year scale, they look good, pretty good. Not too long ago, the annual rate of return for PERS was close to 30%. This year, the rate of return is closer to 1%. The message I must get across is to concern yourself with the average, currently hovering at 7%. The long-term investment strategies for PERS are sound. However, they can stand to make some adjustments for the global market. The issue of retirement spiking, the process of cashing out using credits as their final compensation calculation has been addressed, most recently with the passage of Assembly Bill 340. Overall, this practice did hurt the system tremendously, but it will heal. There's a fiduciary responsibility to handle these funds in a manner that is fair to the employees and the taxpayer. Generally speaking, 70 to 80% of the pension cost or payout is covered by earned profits from the investment return. The rest is covered by employee contribution. This, as well, has been addressed by AB 340. All new employees are required to pay half the normal cost of their retirement. Normal cost is the cost of the pension minus any unfunded liabilities. In general, we stand to see an overall increase in the employee contribution rate that is fair to both the employee and the taxpayer. Let PERS continue to do what it does best. Let them continue to invest our money so that they can make money, so that people can retire. Historically, PERS has done an exemplary job. They are investing for the long term. The legislature passed AB 340 overwhelmingly by a vote of 66 to 9. This new pension reform bill will trickle down to the local level.
Thank you. Joanne?
Everybody talk about funds, but I'm not familiar with here. I'm familiar with in my county. It's a little bit similar. For you work in a company, they pay for you until you retire. If you have a 26 years, you can take whole money you put in there. After that, if you don't have a 30 years, you can pay 5 years to get whole money, 72%. Here, I really don't know how it works. But I know many people, when work here, pay retirement, he can retire at 55 years old. But many people I have seen, he retired at 55, but how many people come back to work? Because the retirement that he got not is enough to pay the bills. And I think the city have to work a little bit over this to unfunded retirement to help when the people retire, because they need the money also. I'm so sorry if I'm not familiar with retirement here, but I'm trying, I'm learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you can tell, and I certainly have many more questions,